Good day. Welcome to another edition of Inside Putnam Valley Schools. I'm Eric Rose, your host, along with Superintendent of Schools, Jeremy Luft. And Jeremy, good seeing you.
You too. Always a pleasure.
It's been a long summer.
It has certainly been a long summer,
But
following a long spring.
but a productive summer and getting school ready for the unprecedented 2020-2021 school year.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer for a lot of people around here. Certainly our buildings and grounds staff, our technology staff, our office staff, and obviously our administrative staff have really been hard at work doing everything they can to get schools ready to safely reopen.
Schools reopen. Elementary school children will be going 5 days a week. Middle and high school children on a hybrid method. How did you come up with that decision?
I mean, there were many reasons. We had a reentry task force that had almost 50 individuals on it representing parents and community members. And we spoke a lot about those students sort of most in need for sort of the in-person interactions, for they're the less self-directed in learners. So we made the commitment early on for kindergarten through second grade students to be in school full time. And then the model sort of morphed from there. We were able to bring in third and fourth grade students full time as well, because we knew those students were had the greatest need for those in-person interactions. And those students, it's more challenging for them to participate in remote learning.
Your staff, unparalleled, the work that they have done to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, as you see, as other school districts go to the remote only option, I think it gives credit to those individuals for the tremendous amount of work they've done to put us in a situation where we're still able to open up and support our students in school.
What kind of reaction are you getting from the community, Jeremy, from parents? Are they appreciative as to what the school has done this summer?
Yeah, I mean, we've received a great deal of positive feedback from parents and community members. Obviously, everybody shares the same underlying concern regarding health and safety, but we believe that the public health numbers remain below 1%. And if we don't open now, I'm not sure when we would open. The numbers recently hit an all-time low. So I think that speaks to the importance or the timing to get students back into school now. We don't know what will happen with that number in the future. And we could always end up being forced into a distance learning model or a remote model for all. So we want to make sure we get our students in to our classrooms and get learning underway for as long as we can safely do so.
Now, how is school going to look on that first day of school when the children come into the building?
Mm-hmm.
They'll be coming in different locations to reduce the numbers of children at one time?
Yeah, so we're certainly staggering our opening of school. We're actually bringing in fewer students than our hybrid model calls for, and that gives us an opportunity to sort of refine our practices, to be able to practice our arrival and dismissal procedures, transitions between classes, lunch, other sort of high traffic times within our buildings. So we want to make sure that we're piloting some of the processes in place and make any revisions necessary before we bring back greater numbers of students. So we have some grade levels in, some out that first 4 days, but the following Monday is when we anticipate really kicking off our full hybrid model.
How will the cafeteria look? How will the library look? Physical education?
So, I mean, it'll depend upon each building. It looks slightly different. In elementary school, students will be eating in their classrooms where we know they can sit at their desk and be socially distanced. Because we're bringing back 100% of our elementary students, our cafeteria doesn't have the capacity to support all those students. Middle school and high school, where we're bringing back 50% of the students, we have more flexibility in those spaces, and we'll be arranging furniture to ensure that students maintain 6 feet of social distancing within the cafeteria, or the high school has the community lunch, which means kids will be spread out across the building.
So every nook and cranny is going to be filled in the Putnam Valley schools this year.
Yeah, we're certainly utilizing all the space that we have available to us to maximize the distance between students. Obviously, lunch is a time of concern. It's really one of the few times during the school day the students have an opportunity to take their masks off. So we want to make sure that we're maximizing social distancing during times when students are not wearing masks.
You know, when you talk about masks, and this has been discussed regionally, nationally, how do you keep a mask on a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old throughout the day? I guess the best advice would be that parents should work with their children at home now and get them prepared for school.
Yeah, it's certainly a very real concern that we have. But I have to say, this week we had our kindergarten bus run in orientation. Every student showed up wearing a mask. They wore it on the bus. They wore it walking into their classroom. They wore it the entire time they were in their classroom. I think students are becoming accustomed to wearing them at home and when they go out in public. So I was very pleasantly surprised that the students, our 4 and 5-year-old students that are coming into kindergarten, did not struggle with wearing masks during the time they were here. And I hope that's a good sign for all of our students.
What about transportation, now busing? How is that working out in the Putnam Valley schools?
Yeah, so our plan for busing is to put 1 student per seat. We're actually putting siblings that are on 2 different bus runs in the same exact seat. All students will have assigned seats. We stagger window and aisle, so even between the morning and between the bus runs, that the students aren't sitting in exactly the same seat. And there's a lot of work that we're doing at night, cleaning and disinfecting the school buses to prepare for the next day. So that's what our plan is 1 student per seat. Siblings may sit together, but other than that, we're increasing the number of buses we have available to ensure that we can keep the number of students on a bus below 22.
And just walking around the schools, the sanitizing that has already taken place. You see machines in hallways, new water fountains, restrooms are different. So the entire school family is involved in this process, maintenance, custodians, and faculty.
100%. Dave Spittle and his crew have really been on top of this since the spring. Our conversation started last spring of what we would need in place in order to open in the fall. And I think his staff has done a tremendous job in making sure that not only our buildings are clean, our classrooms are configured in a way that allows for social distancing, but on the supply side, that we have the equipment we need to quickly disinfect spaces. We have all the cleaning materials we need. We have water that's available because water fountains are not encouraged to be used. And all of those little pieces go into the big picture that allows us to reopen schools.
I know you couldn't have done it without the support of the Board of Education and your administrative team.
Yes, I mean, the administrative team has really been my rock throughout this process. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of time that they've dedicated into changing policies and procedures and practices within their own buildings. Just to think about the arrival and dismissal process and how that will look different than it did in years past, where for years we've been working on a single point of entry, and now because of the virus we're forced to reopen multiple entrances in order to stagger the arrival of students. So it's really been a team effort, and a tremendous amount of work has gone into getting us here today.
You know, just by looking around throughout Westchester and Putnam counties, with some other schools are having major problems resulting in remote learning when the school begins, Putnam Valley really, as I say, kudos to the entire school family here.
Well, thank you. I mean, it has not been without struggles or challenges, but...
Yeah, you've lost a few more hairs, I see, since last time.
That and a little bit of sleep. But yeah, it's really been a team effort to get to fill vacancies that were created by teachers taking childcare leaves, to make sure we have appropriate accommodations in place for those who have medical reasons to need additional PPE or other provisions. And then it comes down to our buildings. Our ventilation systems we have a high quality, high tech ventilation system. We procured MERV 13 filters earlier in the spring. They're on site, they're installed. So I know that's a challenge that some districts are still facing. PPE supply line is very backed up. It's very hard to get supplies, but we were, again, proactively purchased a lot of supplies in the spring and over the summer. So we have supplies in district now, and we're prepared to utilize them in reopening. So there's a lot of people did a lot of work this summer to get us to this place.
And you want the parents to know that information is there on the website, Board of Education meetings, all other venues. Parents, all have to do is just click on.
Yeah, I mean, parents are probably getting tired of receiving emails from us at this point, but there's a tremendous amount of information that we have to disseminate to our parents. And as I mentioned earlier, it's truly a partnership. If we're going to be successful in opening schools and keeping schools open, it's going to require the partnership between parents and the district. So the more information we can provide them, the better they can help support their students. And the same is true from the health screening side. We're asking parents to conduct morning health screenings for their child to take their temperature. The district will also be doing it throughout the school day. But again, for us to stay safe in Putnam Valley, we're going to need the parents to partner with us, keep sick children home, monitor your child every morning for temperature and other symptoms. And I think that, along with behaviors outside of school, what happens on the weekends and after school, and are people obeying the rules or sort of the regulations that we know work to prevent the spread of virus, will ultimately benefit the school district.
Extracurricular activities. I know the governor's very wishy-washy. 1 minute it's A, the next minute it's B. How do you feel? What's your reaction to all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging situation, and there's certainly, I guess, my one request would be there to be some sort of common expectations across, and we're sort of all over the place. Youth sports, recreational sports are allowed to run, but we have to adhere to 12 feet of social distancing in our phys ed classes. And now there's questions about whether varsity sports will run. Like, at some point, there has to be consistency between our expectation for recreation sports for youth, our expectations for physical education classes in school, and our expectations for varsity sports after school. And I think that's what the state's trying to work through. And I look forward to more information and guidance as to how we're going to keep students safe without well participating in these sports.
What's your message out there to residents of Putnam Valley as that school year is about to begin now?
Again, I think it speaks to the amount of work that has gone into preparing for the opening of school, that we would not be opening schools if we did not believe it was safe to do so. I know I have two children of my own, 8 and 11-year-old, and they've struggled through the remote learning. They were very anxious to get back to school. Two boys who don't typically love going to school. And their school district just closed last evening, and they were devastated to find out that they were not able to return to school for the first time in 6 months. And I see what it's like at home. I see how badly they need to be in school. And I know that families in Putnam Valley are feeling the same. So I'm happy that we're in a place where we're able to open. I'm hopeful that everyone will follow the appropriate precautions and will be able to stay open. And I think that requires sort of a partnership between the two, between the home and the school. And as long as we can keep that up, then I think we'll be able to stay open.
And parents, keep involved with your school district. Any questions, contact Jeremy at the administrative building. Online information comes out virtually, as you say, on a daily basis.
Yes.
And by the way, your messages, every other week now? Once a week? They're very good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get out a Friday update every week, and then multiple smaller messages throughout the week. So it's important that we remain transparent in our communications, and everyone feels empowered with the information they need to make a decision what's right for their family.
Wish you a good year.
Thank you very much.
Wish everyone out there a good year, a safe year in the Putnam Valley School District. You've been listening to Inside Putnam Valley Schools with Superintendent of Schools Jeremy Luft. I'm Eric Gross. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great school year. Be safe. Until next time. Bye-bye now.